Of course, what we all really want are flying cars.
Do you?
Yeah.
No, actually, let me ask you. So, are you sure you want a flying car?
No, but it looks
Okay.
cool.
It does look cool. I mean, whenever you see sort of cities in like some futuristic concept, they always throw the flying car in there. And
You can't tell me you never thought of it.
no, I've thought a lot about it.
Yeah, okay.
And there's some people I know that are working on flying cars or flying personal transport devices, if you will.
Hoverboards.
There are people working on hoverboards. But, I mean, I sort of wonder...
After the interview, you can show me your hoverboard room, okay?
I know somebody's working on a hoverboard.
I won't tell anybody. The microphone is on mute now, so
Okay.
you can tell.
Just between us. It's awesome. I'm debating, like, should there be flying cars or shouldn't there be flying cars? I'm of two minds on that, because if there are flying cars, then, well, obviously you have added this additional dimension where now a car could potentially fall on your head and will be susceptible to weather. And of course you'd have to have a flying car where it would be like an autopilot, because I mean, otherwise, forget it.
You don't want people navigating.
Yeah, it's got to be.
flying.
It's got to be autopilot. Mm-hmm. But even in an autopilot scenario, and even if you've got redundant motors and blades, you're still gone from near zero chance of something falling on your head to something greater than that. And there's also a noise challenge. So I sort of
We don't know how to fly quietly.
right.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll wait it out some longer.
Something that I do think would definitely help a lot in cities is more tunnels. Essentially, with a flying car, you're talking about going 3D. And there's a fundamental flaw with cities where you've got dense office buildings and apartment buildings and duplexes, and they're operating on 3 dimensions, but then you go to the street and suddenly you're 2-dimensional.
Because it's a surface.
Yeah,
This is how New York City solved this with the subway, going
Right.
underneath multiple layers of subway.
Right.
So we are actually traveling in 3 dimensions, but below the ground rather
Yes.
than in the air.
But I think if you were to extrapolate that to cars and have more car tunnels, then you would alleviate congestion completely. In
And
cities.
you wouldn't need the flying car.
You would not need a flying car in that case. And it would always work even if the weather's bad. And
It would never ice up.
It would never ice up, and it would not fall on your head. So
We're going to get
it seems-
started on that right
From
away.
an industrial standpoint, the biggest problem we need to solve on Earth this century is sustainable production and consumption of energy. This really is quite a serious problem. People really should take this quite seriously. Even if you put the environmental consequences of dramatically changing the chemical composition of the oceans and atmosphere aside, we will eventually run out of oil.
Holding that aside.
Well, if we don't find a solution to burning oil for transport, and we then run out of oil, the economy will collapse and civilization will come to an end, or as we know it.
With or without global warming.
Yeah, with that, exactly. I mean, and so if we know that we have to ultimately get off oil no matter what, we know that that is an inescapable outcome. It's simply a question of when, not if. Then why would you run this crazy experiment of changing the chemical composition of the atmosphere and oceans by adding enormous amounts of CO2 that have been buried since the Precambrian era? That's crazy. That is the dumbest experiment in history by far. I mean,
promise, it's not
can you
even
think of a dumber experiment? I honestly cannot. What good could possibly come of it?
So therefore, we need another solution here. But of course, electric cars still uses coal,
That's why you need sustainable power production, like solar and wind.
which can still charge your car.
Yes.